Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs to society. Welcome, you sycophants, you rock dwellers, you stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the president, fly the flag, and honor America. You know, you're always welcome here, and this is the Commandos Radio Show. I'm Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. And joining me as my co host is the Patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada. Don't say Nevada, it's Nevada. And that's Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you so much, Rick. It's always fun to be here on Conservative Commandos and just check through the news and see what's up. We've been complaining about the big tech monopoly that we've been talking about here. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and it's okay if they're benign, if they just actually do what they're supposed to do, which is be a platform, let everybody play. Then, nobody's getting getting cranky about it. But when they start to censor and deny the First Amendment, then things start to happen. And actually, the United States Department of Justice and 11 states attorney general have filed a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Google, alleging anti-competitive and exclusionary practices by the American technology giant in a search advertising market. So they're finally doing something. They filed suit in Washington, D.C., and they say that it's because this Google dominates 80% of desktop searches and 90% of mobile searches. So if you search on your phone, you go through Google. If you search on your computer, you go through Google, and that's 80 to 90% of that is happening. And they say that it's a monopoly that's been abusing its power and preventing unlawfully competitors, including Yahoo, Microsoft Bing, DuckDuckGo, from accessing the main search distribution channels. So they've got an attorney. He's going to go forward with this, and he's asking the unit, they call it the Alphabet Inc. unit, which is Apple and Google, and they're asking for $1 trillion together with Facebook commands. And this is their market value. So I don't know exactly what they're going to go after as far as, making them pay, or if they're just going to break up the company, what their end game is here. But at least they're doing something. I'm really glad to see that, Rick.
I am too. Sharon, I'm guilty. When I would look up information, what do? I Google it. And even the term Google it, that is a term to mean, go and do a web search. All right. Everybody Googles it. They don't say, what were the other ones that you mentioned, Sharon?
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. Nobody says I'm going to DuckDuckGo it or Bing it or any of the, it's Google. It's like saying Jello, everybody knows what it is but for a search engine, you use it. I believe that this corporation has abused its trust and needs to be broken up. I really do. I think there needs to be an investigation of these people, and it's gotten too big. It needs to be broken up. Now, for a conservative like me, to say we need government action, that may not be a conservative view. However, Sharon, we are losing this street fight. We are losing the street fight with the left by using Marcus of Queensberry rules. We've got to get down in the gutter. We got to get just as dirty as they are. Sharon, I know you cringe every time I say this, but we've got to get into this fight.
Well, we do, but I don't think this is a dirty fight at all. I think we broke up Ma Bell for having less than 80 to 90% of that market, and it has really helped all of us as consumers to be able to have the choice. And that's all this lawsuit is saying. It's about time that we have some choice in this matter. Give consumers an opportunity to choose somebody else and make them compete market. $1 trillion.
Sharon, if they were just fair, but they're not. And we'll talk about this with a couple of our guests today.
That's right. That's
How
right.
unfair these organizations are and how they are dealing with their competition and they're squashing their competition. All right.
Well,
We need action.
it's interesting that Google has called itself in 2018, they called themselves the good censor. Well, you know, how is that
Who made
how is
them God?
censorship ever good, And they
Yeah.
also made the claim that they choose dignity and civility over freedom. Really?
Over freedom?
Yeah, really. Dignity
Dignity
and
and
civility over
civility over
freedom.
freedom? Freedom is dignity and civility. Oh my
Well,
God.
you just it makes you cringe when
I'm
you read
cringing
this
right
stuff.
now.
I think it's interesting too that a fellow Dr. Epstein called Google the most dangerous company in the world,
Hmm.
the world's most dangerous company, the greatest surveillance network in the history of mankind, the
Hmm.
most powerful mind control engine ever created. Google Docs monitors what you type and could ban you based on not approving of your content, which they already are. I mean, he called it. So, and it's just amazing to me that we've allowed it to go on as long as we have. It almost makes you wonder, with that $1 trillion in profit, who they're buying. And I think you know the answer to that question.
Yeah. Sharon, there's a movie out there our listeners and viewers need to check out. It's called The Creepy Line. It's a movie that's done by Peter Schweizer exactly about this, about the monopoly of Google and how they track people, how they're tracking people in their own homes, and how they're using this information and how we're being manipulated by this information, how the information about you and me is being sold, and how this corporation, Google, is getting bigger and bigger and more powerful. All right, money is power, Sharon Engel. You know that. And these people have a lot of money and they have a lot of power. And they're not using this power and this money to benefit you and I, that's for sure.
Well,
They're
in fact,
using,
they're harming us.
yeah,
Google and Wikipedia and that whole bunch.
yeah.
They defame us, and there's not a darn thing we can do about it. We can't even sue them because they're protected by the law.
Yeah, well, those protections need to be brought in. They need to be reined in. They've just gotten too powerful, and they're using that power. I think they're using that power in just the opposite way of what those powers were intended to be. They are now Big Brother. They're the 1984 Big Brother, and they've got to be reined in. They've got to be reined in while government still has the power to do it because Sharon, they are becoming the quasi government. They are now becoming the closet government.
Well, I know they were outraged when President Trump declared Antifa a terrorist group. But what they're doing is declaring their competitors terrorist group.
They're
Um,
the terrorist group.
they have banned Gab, which is a alternative to
Mhm.
Facebook, uh, a cloud host provider, a domain name registrar, and they have banned them. Their providers have banned them and dropped them because why? Because Google has declared them to be a terrorist, or at least terrorists use their platform. Uh, it's it's amazing that the hypocrisy in this, because the the bizarre truth, is that many terrorists have been allowed to use the big tech platforms to espouse their stuff, and we've seen it ourselves. You go on YouTube and you can see these terrorist films.
I gotta start using Gab more often. We gotta start supporting them. I'm on it right now. I'm on Gab right now. I am. I am. You see, we're on. Hey, Sharon, let's take a break.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't write down where we started, so we'll take a break now. I think it's probably 10, 12 minutes. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Once again, we do not fail you. We have three great guests joining us today. On the other side of the break, Sharon and I will tell you who our guests are and the topics for our conversations. But for right now, you're listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And while you're there, chip in a few bucks, $5, $10, whatever you can. Because unless you want to be totally dependent on the likes of Facebook, Google, and Twitter, the right news, You got to help us out. You got to help us out. Stay on the air. $5, $10. That's a cup of coffee or two. So if you want to preserve the First Amendment, if you want places like the conservative commandos who honor the First Amendment and bring you the news that you're not going to see or hear on the alphabet networks, you're not going to see or hear on Facebook or Google. If you want the uncensored news, help us out, guys. Help us out. Help us to breathe. Well, Sharon, let's talk about Buck and Aikman and the comments that they've made while observing a flyover of the U.S. military, which says America. I mean, Sharon, is there any reason why the ratings are tanking for the NBA, for the NFL, for Major League Baseball? They have gotten into political game and it's not doing them any justice. It's because of Jack Buck or whatever the guy's name and
Joe.
Joe Buck.
Yeah, and I guess you've come to associate Fox with conservatism, but not so much. These broadcasters on their sports channel, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they show the flyover at the Green Bay Packers game, pregame, and they say that's your hard-earned money and your tax dollars at work. Like that's a bad thing. Like patriotism is a bad thing. And then they end it all with saying, well, that stuff ain't happening with the Kamala Biden ticket. I'll tell you that right now. Interesting how they put her name first and how, they're mocking this whole idea of military flyovers because of their price tag, but probably more importantly, because of their carbon footprint, right? Their attack on the climate change. So this criticism is interesting that they can't even get an audience for these games to come into the stadium.
Any wonder? Any wonder?
There isn't any wonder. We've got players that don't understand what a great country they live in, that they couldn't even have a job in any other country.
No.
I mean, there is no football league anyplace else.
Well, Sharon,
right?
I want to say this one more time. Damn it, if you don't like it here in this country, if you think this is such an evil place, if you think, Sharon, I'm going to bring out the race card here. I really am going to bring out the race card here. If this is such a hateful, racist place for people to live, why are so many Africans wanting to come here? Jamaicans, Haitians. Why is this the destination that they want to come to? If this is such a hateful, racist nation, my gosh, why does half of Africa want to move here? Why are so many Somalis living in this country? Somalis have just about taken over the state of Minnesota, okay? Why are so many of our businesses run by people from the Middle East? If this is such a hateful, racist country, oh my God. And if you really feel that way, move. Go anywhere you want to. Get out of this country. If you hate it so much, drives me crazy, Sharon Engel. Drives me crazy.
Well, it drives our guests today crazy too. I think it's wonderful when we have these news stories just popping all around us, and our guests are saying, yeah, this is exactly what we need to talk about. Our first guest is Mark Morano, who is a former communications director for the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. He's also on the Committee for Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT, and he's produced a documentary that we're going to go through. It's called Climate Hustle 2. the rise of the climate monarchy. So I'm, we're talking right in his wheelhouse when we talk about these broadcasters not wanting the carbon footprint of the military in our skies. Wow. They protect our safety, and, it's like love it or leave it. Our second guest is Rachel Alexander, and she's going to be talking to us again today. She's the political columnist and the founder of and editor of Intellectual Conservative. She's also a regular on Town Hall, and she has written an article, How Big Tech is Working to Steal the Election from Trump. We talked about Google in our first part of our program. She's going to talk about a review of a book, great book by Alum Bakari, who is with Breitbart, #deleted, Big Tech's Battle to Erase the Trump Movement and Steal the Election. Excited to talk to her about that. And finally, following that up, Congressman Bob Barr, who represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives, and he now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, has Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization, and also Liberty Strategies that he does. He wrote an article, Longstanding Precedents Point the Way for the Senate Judiciary Committee to Restrain Twitter. So I think, we need to talk about these things. They're in the news, and our guests are going to be here to explain more.
Well, Sharon, you and I both watch this movie, Climate Hustle 2, and I say to everyone out there, grab the popcorn, gather the family. You've got to watch this movie. There's a couple of great movies that I've seen over the past week. I know you've seen this one, but also Trump Card, Dinesh D'Souza's movie. And by the way, Dinesh will be a guest here on the Conservative Commandos radio show this week to talk about Trump Card. But, Sharon, we've got to support these conservative movies. And these are two great movies, and they really pinpoint the problems that are facing the country today. And the problems are the left. The problem is the left. The problem is these people who think that socialism is the answer. And I really do think it's their idea to drag our country down. They want a level playing field with the rest of the world. They want to be the elitist. They want to drag us all down to third world status. No electricity in the homes. Okay? Everybody living in cold and fear, literal cold and fear. And Sharon, a couple of great movies. I highly recommend them. Okay, and right on the other side, we're going to be speaking with Mark Morano. He is the executive editor and chief correspondent for ClimateDepot.com. He's also involved as producer and narrator or host of this film, Climate Hustle 2, the rise of the climate monarchy. Don't go away. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. We'll be right back with our first guest right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for a rebroadcast of our show, be it our TV show, be it our radio show, the place to go is our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Also, check out the website of the American Uncensored News Network at aun-tv.com. And Sharon, we do have our first guest of the day with us. And once again, it's your honor to make the introduction.
It is my honor. We spoke with Mark last week, and I'm really excited to speak with him this week because of what we're going to be talking about. Mark Morano is the former communications director for the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee and a senior aide speechwriter and climate researcher for Senator James Inhofe, and is an executive editor and chief correspondent for ClimateDepot.com, a pioneering climate and eco news center. The news effort began in April of 2009 and is a special project of the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT, and is the most comprehensive information center on climate news and the related issues of environment and energy. Mark, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
I'm happy to be back, Sharon. Thank you. Appreciate
Well, I watched a really cool film, and I'm going to recommend it to everyone. It's called The Climate Hustle 2, The Rise of the Climate Monarchy, and it's hosted by Kevin Sorbo. I mean, you've got some great clips in it, and I guess I want to start with the very beginning. There's a little girl that comes on in glasses. And it took me a minute to figure out who that little girl was. But I mean, you start out with a little satire there. Talk about that little girl and what she says and why she's so important to the film.
Well, that's Mini AOC, and she is a doppelganger or imitator of the real Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Green New Deal architect, if you will. She's only 8 years old, maybe going on 9 by now, but she's got Twitter fame, and we loved her videos on Twitter, so we asked her to be in the movie, and that's all her material, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, so we feature her playing AOC, just about as plausible and saying some of the silly things that AOC says. It's hard to satire AOC sometimes, but we had a lot of fun. And looking at our audience reaction, I mean, she was a universal hit, Mini AOC. Everyone loved it. Everyone said it's the best part of the movie.
Well, it's actually we're seeing the movie just to see her.
Yeah.
It took me a minute. I thought, who is this little kid and what's she doing?
Yeah.
And like two, and
Yeah.
like two.
Yeah. Yeah.
what, what is she up to? But it was great. I really appreciated that. Another thing that I appreciated was you got those stars to just really talk about their own hypocrisy, and I'm calling it the Marie Antoinette
Yeah.
syndrome. So you talk about these stars that are, I mean, they're all for this they think the sky is falling, don't they?
They do. Yeah. First of all, the film's available now on, we had a premiere, but it's climatehustle2.com, and it's available on demand or DVD and Blu-ray. But yes, we opened the film, Sharon, talking about the monarchy. We actually opened it at Louis XIV Palace in Versailles near Paris. And we talk about how, just like the royalty of own, the divine right of kings, today's climate establishment wants to be a rule over us like a monarchy. In other words, the rules aren't going to apply to them, but they're going to apply to everyone else. So as the first example we give to you are the Hollywood celebrities. These are people like Harrison Ford, Leonardo DiCaprio, even Al Gore, who show up at all the UN conferences, who in many cases official United Nations climate spokespeople and have official titles. Yet they themselves aren't willing to do an ounce for climate. In the case of Harrison Ford, who I got to interview at the UN Climate Summit in Madrid, he goes on and brags about, the United Nations needs to do more. We need to shut down. We need to do X, Y. And then at the same time, he says, I often fly up the coast for a cheeseburger because I love flying so much. Doesn't sound like a low carbon footprint. We have Leonardo DiCaprio being criticized by the Hollywood left himself on yachts owned by oil tycoons, bragging that he'll fly anywhere around the world to get environmental awards. I mean, they just missed the picture. And of course, Al Gore using 20 plus times the electricity of the average American. And we also have Madonna and a bunch of other celebrities we go through. We have a lot of fun with it. Arnold Schwarzenegger is another one. He imposed upon California what they're dealing with today, all these blackouts and energy blackouts. Well, you know what he did when he was governor? He told the people of California that they should hang their clothes on a clothesline to save the carbon footprint of the electric dryers or gas dryers. Well, he himself was doing daily commutes to the governor's mansion, because the governor's mansion, unlike 99.99999% of all Americans, would be a step up in life. For Arnold Schwarzenegger, it was a step down. So he took a daily commute in a private jet to his job at the governor's mansion. He was lecturing people to hang their clothes out to dry.
It was amazing. I thought the funny one was Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Talk about her.
This was a show on MTV for young people. It was Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, a couple other celebrities. They traveled the world. Now, in the politically correct lingo, you say they went to developing world countries and enjoyed the cultural aspects. In unpolitically correct, they went to, in the words of Donald Trump, third world bleep holes. And they bragged and said how fantastic they were doing it. In other words, they went to places that had high infant mortality, a high death rate, no running water, no infrastructure, people living in back-breaking poverty. And they told them, hey, you're doing it right. You're living correctly. They themselves got there by limousine, by helicopter, by SUV, by boat, flying all over the world. And the most outrageous scene is Drew Barrymore bragging, and I think she was in either Bhutan or a part of Chile that didn't have running water and electricity, bragging that she took a poo or number 2 in the woods and how awesome it was. And all the other Hollywood celebrities, I'm going to do that too. Like they were on some glorified camping trip. These are people's lives in the developing world, which they're saying, you're doing it right, as we fly in and out on our jets and everything. The ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Well, I think it's funny, and it is. I guess I wanted to bring out the entertainment aspect of it, because Climate Hustle 2, the rise of the climate monarchy, is truly a serious, serious problem. But I think our audience will find it very entertaining. It's worth it just for the entertaining value of
try to make it fun.
what you've done, and by making fun of it, you have really exposed the all I can say is the idiocy, the lunacy, the ivory tower these people live in. I mean, if you think going to the bathroom out in the woods is an experience, you know, where have you been living? You know, anybody that's been raised in America, you know, who would want to make a big deal out of that?
Well, that's
You
the
know,
thing.
it's crazy.
They glorify a primitive, and by the way, that's not a politically correct term, a primitive lifestyle. In that same series, there was on MTV, there were other shows of it where they're like marveling at huts made of dung and mud. And, you know, this is the reality of life for about 1 billion people in the world. And it's not something we should be saying, hey, you guys are doing it right. We need to be more like, no, we need to lift these people an opportunity to actually lift themselves out of not having their kids live to adulthood. I mean, this is not something we brag about, but in Hollywood's world, this is fantastic. This is what they want. This is what they want. And of course, right after that in the film, we get into two other issues. The Hollywood as a religion. We have Harrison Ford talking about he found in nature a kind of God, and they talk about how it's replaced God. We have the eco worship. We have the footage from the People's Climate March in New York City, the people praying the deep green, and there's a whole movement out there, deep ecology, which is trying to replace traditional religions. And then beyond that, of course, we go into the indoctrination of school children, which is probably the most frightening aspect of the film.
Well, and I thought it was really poignant. You have a profile of Václav Klaus, the former president of the Czech Republic, talking about this. Talk about what he said about this whole thing. Talk about where we're heading.
Well, first of all, just to say, the opening after Mini AOC, right before that, I opened with a COVID climate connection, which we talked about last week. But the idea is the lockdowns for COVID is a model that they want to use for the climate lockdown. So I went to Czech Republic and interviewed the former president of the Czech Republic, Václav Klaus, who grew up, and he was an academic in Czechoslovakia under Soviet Union domination of Eastern Bloc communist nations. And he sees in today's environmental movement the greatest threat to liberty. He actually says it's the greatest threat since the Berlin Wall fell and the collapse of the Soviet Union is what he calls ambitious environmentalism as part of the climate movement. He says in Climate Hustle 2 that this is, quote, masterminding from above, unquote. Now think about that in connection to both climate emergency and the COVID lockdowns. They're masterminding from above. You can't go to a wedding, a funeral. You can't have a backyard barbecue. In some countries around the world, you can't leave your house for more than an hour. That's ultimate in masterminding. And they want the COVID lockdowns to morph to the climate lockdowns. So we interviewed not only Václav Klaus, but other people from the Czech Republic who, again, lived under the Soviet domination. And they talk about all the parallels of the threat to freedom we are facing under the climate agenda.
It is really a sobering film. You know, we talked about the fun parts and we talked about the entertaining parts, but it's quite sobering. And you want to know what's the solution. I know that you're with CFACT. You guys have been looking for these solutions. Talk to us a little bit. Is there a hopeful side, or are we just doomed to go into third world oblivion here?
Well, you know, obviously, boy, that's a good question. I myself am not optimistic. However, I have to try to motivate here because I've been following this for so long. But I guess when I say I'm not optimistic, we're not in a position to win this. We haven't, even under President Trump, we haven't done the things we needed to do. Sure, Trump came in, undid everything Obama did and did great regulations. And actually, Trump himself speaks very good on the climate. He speaks articulately. However, the Trump administration failed to put up a commission to push back on the climate narrative. They were going to have about 1 or 2 dozen top climate scientists to push back the first ever formal report by a government against the United Nations climate reports. It didn't happen. Trump himself approved, but all his advisors didn't. They treated climate like the Vietnam War. There's a quagmire they didn't want to get involved in. So they delayed, undermined Trump's approval. That never happened. So what happens if Trump loses, Biden comes in, and whatever Trump accomplished in 4 years, it's already, frankly, whatever Trump's accomplished, COVID lockdowns, which Trump was duped into, has already undone that, number one. And number two, we're just right back to where we started from. But the difference now is we had the most skeptical president in American history, and he never put forth any pushback on the climate science narrative of this. He just did great policies. So I think we're worse off after 4 years of Trump in terms of fighting this. And even if Trump wins, I feel as though I'll be delaying the actual battle. Most Republicans are timid, afraid. Even conservative Republicans in the House are running scared of this issue. They want to come up with a Green New Deal light plan. They don't want to go up against any of the narrative on this. So to answer your question, because of the COVID lockdowns, because of, in my special report, I mentioned this, the House of Commons Speaker is so excited how willing people were willing to give up their freedom under the COVID lockdown. He wants to just go ahead and extend it full on for the climate lockdowns. And I frankly just don't see a spirit of rebellion enough in the people, unless I would say the number one thing you can do is an electoral shock in America. If we get that, if governors who supported lockdowns, like in North Carolina, if they lose, that sends a message to both the climate campaigners and to the medical tyranny we're under, that this is not going to be accepted. But I don't know. Right now, I feel like most of the public's afraid, most of the public's compliant. And at this point, it doesn't take much to just go COVID climate and switch right over to climate. And if Biden's elected, it's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out right here to all Nevadans listening. Sign that petition that recalls your governor. He's as worthless as the mask that you're wearing into the grocery store. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharon Angle here with my co-host Rick Trader. We've been talking with Mark Morano about his new film, Climate Hustle 2, The Rise of the Climate Monarchy. You ought to watch it. And we'll be right back to discuss more about that film right after this break.
Nearly every day, we hear dire predictions about climate change from the media establishment, Hollywood, and politicians. They tell us that the world is coming to an end because normal human activity is raising the temperature to dangerous levels. To avoid a hellish apocalypse, they warn us we must immediately change our lifestyles and our very way of life. But are these sensational claims based on solid empirical science? Do the facts line up with the hype? Well, an increasing number of scientists are becoming skeptical. We covered what many of these scientists had to say in our first groundbreaking film, Climate Hustle. From overhyped claims about severe weather events, temperatures, rising sea levels, and even disappearing polar bears, Climate Hustle peeled back the hype and looked at the facts that simply don't add up to any reason for alarm. So this begs the questions. Why would those claiming a global warming catastrophe spread a false narrative? What would motivate them? Why would they try to hustle you? Are they trying to control the climate or you? Well, those are the questions we're going to explore in this film, and the answers may shock you. Order your DVD, Blu-ray, or digital copy today of Climate Hustle 2.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trade. I want to get right into this because we got so much to talk about with this gentleman, Mark Morano. He's the executive editor and chief correspondent for ClimateDepot.com. We're discussing his film, Climate Hustle 2, The Rise of the Climate Monarchy. Mark, thank you for holding through that breaking. You and Sharon were talking about your favorite parts of the movie. You didn't talk about my favorite parts, and that was of Nicole Kidman eating maggots because she says this is the type of diet we need to adjust to. We need to get away from meat. We need to get away from dairy. We need to eat bugs, and she's eating a plate of maggots, and she says it tastes like hairy nuts, and that's supposed to be oh my god. And then Mark, what is this guy whose solution for climate change is actually shrinking people down to 5 inches tall? I mean, are they serious, Mark Morano?
They are serious. In fact, there was a Hollywood movie with not Ben Affleck, but Matt Damon, And actually, that was what it was about, shrinking people down to 7 inches to fight global warming. Well, an NYU professor, before the movie came out, before the movie was even in production, came out and actually called for not only genetically shrinking human beings to lower our carbon footprints, but he's calling for drugs to give you empathy, psychedelic drugs to make you care about the environment or climate if you don't already. He also is wants to invent a meat patch that you'd put on your arm and make it, if you eat meat, that you would get violently ill. The same way a nicotine patch, or I guess it's called antabuse, whatever it's called with alcohol. They have these things. And the gist of it is we can't allow meat eating. That's one of the things they're trying to ban. And by the way, that was the subject of a United Nations report. And also Al Gore is trying to be the world's first fake meat billionaire. He has an IPO startup company that's trying to piggyback on all these government regulations about agriculture due to climate. So that's all going on. But we have this guy, Matthew Lau, NYU professor, seriously talking about ways we can genetically shrink people and make us less carbon intensive. This is where we arrived, Dr. Mengele of the 21st century.
Mark, when you talk about hypocrisy, when you talk about Al Gore, a man who claims he's a vegan, my God, this man's as big as a house. I bet he weighs 300 pounds. So when you talk about hypocrisy, I don't think he's gaining all that weight on vegetables and tofu. I really don't. Hey, Mark, you talk a lot about it, you and Sharon. You've talked about Al Gore, Leonardo DiCaprio, Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But let's talk a little bit about Patrick Moore and John Coleman. Who are they, and what do they say in your film?
Well, Patrick Moore is the co-founder of Greenpeace. And interestingly enough, social media censorship for decades. Greenpeace has listed Patrick Moore as one of its co-founders on Greenpeace's own website. He then turned against the organization, became a climate skeptic, and has been written books about his confessions of a Greenpeace dropout. He goes on Fox News 2 years ago now, and Donald Trump retweets his comments about the global warming is fake news, fake science, and about the Green New Deal. Immediately, Greenpeace and Google conspire, and suddenly a Google search of Patrick Moore no longer has him as a co-founder of Greenpeace, and Greenpeace itself whitewashed it from their website. And people were trying to act like, what? There's nothing to see here. We had the screenshots of Greenpeace saying our and list Patrick Moore, and then later they don't like what he says, so he's erased from history, just like the Commissar vanishes under Joseph Stalin. So,
I do that all the time here on Conservative Commandos, but not really.
So that's who Patrick Moore is, and he's featured in the movie. He calls it child propaganda, what we're seeing. He goes through and talks about what's happening with the Green New Deal, Ocasio-Cortez. And the other one we interviewed is the co-founder or the founder of the Weather Channel, John Coleman, a meteorologist. And he's just so disgusted by what his science, meteorology, has become, how it's been hijacked. I mean, the United Nations reports just in the last 2 years, in order to declare a climate emergency, which is a new phrase, or not a new phrase, but a new, they've popularized it recently. They're using extreme prediction model scenarios now to make everything that happens look like it's going to be a catastrophe. Just a few years ago, the UN didn't do this. This is bastardizing science. Al Gore himself has admitted that the UN reports are torqued up in order to get the attention of policymakers. So it's scientific lobbying by a self-interested lobbying group.
Climate Hustle 2, The Rise of the Climate Monarchy. Mark, why are conservative films like this so important? For instance, this week I've seen two great films. One is Trump Card by Dinesh D'Souza.
I saw that too, yeah.
The other is yours. Why are films like this so important to us?
Well, here's why. If you'd interviewed me 7, 8, 9 years ago, I would have said we're winning, we're doing great. But something happened, and the mainstream media made a brilliant tactical decision for their outcome, not for fairness, not for freedom, not for democracy, but they did something. The LA Times announced it wouldn't have climate deniers, even letters to the editors anymore. They wouldn't have any interviews or anything on it. Everything from CBS, ABC, CNN, BBC just dropped all ability of climate skeptics to even appear on air. I mean, we used to have climate skeptics. I was on ABC News, MSNBC, CNN regularly, and other climate skeptics, scientists, gone. So what's happened is, even since the first Climate Hustle came out in 2016, we were featured in Associated Press, Variety, Jimmy Kimmel. The evolution is complete. They now basically have sealed out, and we're seeing this right now with social media, with President Trump, with Hunter, all that stuff. But I'm just trying to tell you, this is how fast it happened. It's evaporated. So the reason you need to see these is because they're literally not available in any kind of democratic debate anymore. In other words, you cannot engage the other side ever. I used to debate Bill Nye. I've debated him twice in primetime television. I debated on CNN's multiple, the head of the Sierra Club. I've debated a whole host of people, Think Progress, Soros Group. They used to debate. We used to actually have exchanges. That stopped just completely. So now you just have a world where all echo chambers talking to themselves. But unless you're seeing these kind of films like Climate Hustle 2, you don't even know this exists anymore, because now you can't even find us on Facebook, Twitter. YouTube is censoring.
Mark, fantastic film. Well done. Great information. There's serious parts, humorous parts. Mark, please tell our audience how they can view the film.
Sure. Thank you very much, Bob. Yeah, it's Climate Hustle 2, the number or the word, climatehustle2.com. You can get it on demand, DVD, Blu-ray, and I think you'll be entertained. We have a lot of fun stuff. We actually feature exclusive with John Stossel, in which you'll find out that his own daughter is very angry with him for enabling climate deniers. She's been indoctrinated by the youth movement. So
that's another area we didn't get into. I wish we had time. The indoctrination of our children.
Yeah.
Mark Morano, Climate Hustle 2. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Tell them again where to get the film.
You get it at climatehustle2.com, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's both entertaining and mini AOC is worth the price of admission. But Kevin Sorbo is great too in it. So thank you.
All right, Mark Morano, thank you so much. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, Sharon and Bob.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have a very good friend of ours join us, Rachel Alexander. She's going to talk about how big tech is working to steal the election from President Trump. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Nearly every day, we hear dire predictions about climate change from the media establishment, Hollywood, and politicians. They tell us that the world is coming to an end because normal human activity is raising the temperature to dangerous levels. To avoid a hellish apocalypse, they warn us we must immediately change our lifestyles and our very way of life. But are these sensational claims based on solid empirical science? Do the facts line up with the hype? Well, an increasing number of scientists are becoming skeptical. We covered what many of these scientists had to say in our first groundbreaking film, Climate Hustle. From overhyped claims about severe weather events, temperatures, rising sea levels, and even disappearing polar bears, Climate Hustle peeled back the hype and looked at the facts that simply don't add up to any reason for alarm. So this begs the questions. Why would those claiming a global warming catastrophe spread a false narrative? What would motivate them? Why would they try to hustle you? Are they trying to control the climate or you? Well, those are the questions we're going to explore in this film, and the answers may shock you. Order your DVD, Blu-ray, or digital copy today of Climate Hustle 2.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and zero deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. We share an angle, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Also, be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Sharon, speaking of Facebook and on Twitter, our next guest has a lot to say about it. Please make that introduction.
It's my pleasure always to introduce Rachel Alexander, who's a political columnist and the founder and editor of Intellectual Conservative. She's a regular contributor to Town Hall, the Sellis Foundation for Public Policy Research, and the Christian Post. She frequently appears on TV and news radio as a conservative commentator and hosts a radio show on 960 KKNT in Phoenix. She previously served as the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Arizona, corporate attorney for GoDaddy Software, and Rachel was ranked at the Right Wing News as one of the 50 best conservative columnists, and is a recipient of Americans for Prosperity's Right Online Activist of the Year Award. Rachel, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Well, you write such wonderful articles. This one's how big tech is working to steal the election from Trump, but it really is almost a summary of a book called #Deleted: Big Tech's Battle to Erase the Trump Movement and Steal the Election. Talk about this author and about this book a little bit.
Yeah, I was really interested in the book because it's by Breitbart's tech investigative reporter, Alan Bakary, who's been covering tech censorship of conservatives for several years now. I mean, this is what he does for a full-time living. So I figured right before the election, this is what you really, need to know. This guy's an expert. And it was just absolutely mind-opening. to me. I have a background in tech. I had 3 tech support jobs in a former life, and so I've always been very interested in this censorship, and I've written a lot about it. But there was a lot that I didn't realize the extent to which these big tech companies are going. And he goes far beyond, what we've already heard of, Dr. Robert Epstein testifying as a Democrat to Congress on how Google tipped the election at least 2.7 million votes for Hillary over Trump based on the things it was doing. But he goes way into detail beyond that, and I keep urging people, you've got to buy this book and read it, because you can't just do a search on big tech censorship of conservatives and hope to find out a lot of things in a few articles. There is too much to just figure it out and do it on your own unless you have thousands and thousands of hours. This guy has put it all into one book where you can easily read it all at once and see the extent. And every chapter he goes over something different, from how people are being cut off financially from fundraising, to what I think is the most interesting part of the book, where he says, and we can get into this in more detail, but where he says, we don't think that big tech should have this 209 protections anymore from lawsuits. And part of the reason is because we can't create our competitors. We have gotten to this oligopoly. I knew I was going to pronounce this wrong. Oligopoly, where you've got a few big tech companies controlling the internet at this point. There is no regular free market anymore. And so when Gab and Parler and all these, alternatives that aren't going to censor conservatives pop up, they're unable to get anywhere anymore because big tech has locked them out.
Has locked them out. And I wanted to get into some of this. I want to read a quote that you have from his book. He says, basically, they take a tiny set of alt-right trolls, and then they say that alt-right, a new wave of anti-immigration, anti-war, market-skeptical right-wingers, new right, libertarians, and even nonconformist center-left have superficial similarity to the troll, like posting the same memes or following the same accounts, and therefore are all abusive. This is exacerbated considering the left is far more likely to block and report users. So they're doing this through a multiple, it's electronic stuff.
But yeah, what's going on is you have a lot of people on the left who are more likely to be offended. They just came out with a study that shows that Democrat women are more likely to unfriend people on Facebook than anybody else. So the left is going to be reporting us more than we're reporting them. And then you have this thing where Facebook goes and lumps in regular conservatives with a few far-right trolls. And we're all, lumped in as the same. And another part of the article, I talk about how Twitter does the same thing. If you have God and guns in your Twitter profile description and a couple other things, it's just going to label you a bot and ban you.
Well, you say that in your article, he calls this one company the world's most dangerous company. Who is that? Do you remember how he characterizes this company? And we kind of use that search engine.
Was that Dr. Robert Epstein? Yeah, the man who testified to Congress, who referred to Google that way. And that's what's so frightening, because you and me and Jack don't use Google, and I try not to unless it's for research. It doesn't matter. Everybody out there is using Google outside of a handful of us conservatives. We can't ignore it. We can't get around it. You want to make money for your website, you're probably going to have to go with Google's ads. Whenever I go look up somebody to put ads on my website, it turns out they are with the Google ad network. So it's extremely difficult to get around them and around the bias.
And you talk about there are alternatives out there, but you can't even get their app because the guy that owns your phone has banned them from their app stores.
Right, and that is absolutely huge. You need to have an app for most websites these days. You can't get around that. And so banning them from the two major app stores, Apple's App Store and Google's App Store, is a devastating blow. And if you look at the numbers now for Gab, I don't remember exactly what they are off the top of my head, but they're probably like 1 million users, and that is nothing. Facebook has billions of users.
Well, and I guess the most striking thing is the fundraising platforms have all bought into this. So if you use GoFundMe and Patreon and Kickstarter, talk about that. What happens when you say, "Oh, well, let's just do a GoFundMe campaign"?
Right. A lot of conservatives are now getting banned from even fundraising online. And there are very few alternatives. I don't know, how much you guys have looked into the alternatives to GoFundMe and these other big ones, but they're not adequate. You're not going to have a major fundraising campaign without one of the big boys. And the big boys are all locking out conservatives. And it's all tied in together. And you guys will probably get into this later on the call, but Facebook has a hate list of people just like Candace Owens, who, she's just a total regular conservative. And if you are interacting with Candace Owens online, they are going to downgrade your posts. And if they see that you are doing things with Candace Owens outside of Facebook, say somebody took a photo of you guys together, they will downgrade your post. So they are coming after you in your life outside of Facebook as well.
Well, we have to go to a break, and I know that Rick's going to pick it up and talk about PayPal and Wikipedia. It's almost everything that we've become dependent on the internet. And we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos radio show and across the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharon Engel here with my co-host, Rick Trader. We've been talking with Rachel Alexander, longtime friend and political columnist, founder and editor at Intellectual Conservative, about really a book review. Her article is called How Big Tech is Working to Steal the Election from Trump, and she features #deleted, Big Tech's battle to erase the Trump movement and steal the election. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. We share an angle, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Well, the internet gremlins are hitting us. We're back in contact with Rachel Alexander discussing her article, How Big Tech is Working to Steal the Election from Trump. Rachel, thank you for reconnecting with us by phone. And Rachel, I wanted to talk about some of the buzzwords that big tech uses to censor conservatives. Words like fake news, misinformation, hate speech, harassment. Use any of those words, such as guns or God, guess what? They call you a bot. How do they do that?
Yeah, it is getting ridiculous. They do it really broadly because you can say anything is fake news. You can say anything is misinformation. You can say anything is hate speech or harassment. And so they've cast this wide net, which of course they only use against conservatives most of the time. And then the bots thing is even more ridiculous because, you know, they've set these bots to look for certain words that you have in your profile. And so if you got God or guns or, you know, one of their conservative keywords, they may ban you, or they may, you know, definitely downgrade your account. So few people see it. I don't know if it's quite shadow banning, because I suspected they've done this to me many times. But when I do one of those tests for shadow banning, I never show up actually shadow banned. So I think there's other things that they're doing, and those of us who are conservative, based on a few of those words, I think they're pushing us all down.
All right. Rachel, why is it whenever I Google something, one of the very first results that come up is Wikipedia?
Yeah, that is another thing that Alan Bakari exposes in his book. I didn't really think much of it either, you know, when I would start Googling something and boom, Wikipedia is the first thing that comes up if that person or topic has an entry. But they have some agreement going on. They are in it together. And I love how, you know, Alan Bakari has come up with a name for this. Let's see if I can find it in my article. You could probably find it faster than me. It's something to do with defamation. Because defamation engine, that's what he calls it. And there's almost no way to get around it. You know, if you're a well-known conservative, they're going to have a nasty Wikipedia entry about you that shows up as the first thing when somebody Googles your name, and you can't even go in and edit it because they now, and I learned this in 2010 when I tried to edit my ex-boss's entry. If you try to edit out the bad stuff about you or the false stuff, whatever, they will threaten to ban you. And they did that to me way back in 2010. This is still going on.
Well, that's because you're a bad girl, Rachel Alexander. But, you know, in my opinion, why this is so scary, that 43% of Americans are not getting their news from newspapers, magazines, radio, or TV, but they're getting 43% of their news from Facebook.
It's out of control, and you're not going to be able to do much of a pushback on that and get people to leave Facebook and stop doing that because everybody is so dependent on it. I can't do it. I need it for my writing career. If you're in the conservative media, and you guys know this better than anyone, if you leave Facebook, you are, you're really going to be hurting trying to do it on your own. You better have some really good independent funding.
Okay. Also, you and Sharon touched on this earlier, and you have in your article, Gab is an example. The social media company has attempted to become an alternative to Facebook and Twitter. You mentioned that they got 1 million users. That million sounds great, but it's nothing compared to the numbers that Facebook and Twitter has. And we could also add Parler into this. This has been attempted many, many, many times, but they never can seem to get a foothold. Rachel Alexander, what needs to be done? Does Congress need to step in and eliminate their 230 protections to allow them to be sued?
I wasn't sure about that until I read this book. And after reading this book, he explains really well why we do need to eliminate those protections. I've been hesitant because I thought, it's the free market, they still are private companies, let them do what they want. But you know what? This isn't about the free market. Besides the fact it's now an oligopoly, oligopoly controlled by a few major tech companies.
Right.
All removing the 230 protection would just be allow regular common people to sue them. We allow regular common people to sue the Washington Post for defamation. So
right.
Why can't we allow regular common people to sue these big tech companies that do act like publishers and they do censor what people are writing and whatnot? I don't see the difference anymore.
Well, Rachel Alexander, me who loves history, I'll never forget a phrase or a line that was used in the Civil War series, the Ken Burns Civil War series, and that was by Shelby Foote when he said, "The South died of a theory." The South died of a theory. In other words, states being separate from one another weren't necessarily coming together to support the cause. I mean, Virginia was doing its thing, North Carolina its thing, South Carolina its thing. In fact, when Lee surrendered at Appomattox, the Army of Northern Virginia, they were wearing rags when the state of South Carolina had 10,000 brand new uniforms that were never worn. And I say this because, when we talk about removing their 2030 protections, or their 230 protections, a lot of conservatives says, no, we're against government regulations. But Rachel, we're going into a street fight. We're not even going in with knives. We're going in using the Marquess of Queensberry rules here, and it's not working because they're using chains and bats and guns. And we want to be the nice guys.
Yeah, that's right. There is no, if there even is a David versus Goliath,
yeah.
David used a slingshot. He did not use a handshake. He at least,
right.
He at least went in there fighting with what he had. And conservatives are just, willing to lay down and say, oh, well, we're just going to play nice. Well, that's not how.
That's why we're losing. That's why we're losing. Hey, Rachel, we got to run, but we want to thank you so much for joining us here in Conservative Commandos. Great article. Tell our audience how they could read this article and follow all of your work.
Yeah, it's on townhall.com, and you can find everything else about me if you go to my website, intellectualconservative.com.
Rachel Alexander, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. Get rid of those gremlins in your phone, Rachel, and your computer.
It's Apple trying to censor me.
There you go. Again, thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Congressman Bob Barr is going to join us after the break, talking about long-standing precedents point to a way for the Senate Judiciary Committee to restrain Twitter. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033. Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is Sharon Angle. I'm Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our show, be it our radio show or a TV show, the place to go is our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And Sharon, we do have our next guest with us, and please make that introduction.
Well, it's always my honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce Congressman Bob Barr. He represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and consulting firm Liberty Strategies. Congressman Barr, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Sharon. Great to be with you and Rick once again.
It's always great to have you, and you're writing such good articles. I'm not sure if we needed a better author or a better congressman. Wow, I get impressed all the time with your skills here. And he's written an article, you've written one, Long-Standing Precedents Point the Way for Senate Judiciary Committee to Restrain Twitter. Okay, we've been asking, can't they do something about this social media bias and the way they're really hitting us as conservatives. And you say, yeah, there is a way. Talk about that.
Well, Sharon, there is a way if, and it's a very big if Congress, and particularly the Senate now, which after all is in Republican hands, if they would develop some backbone and actually do something. This is what drives you crazy, or at least drives me crazy. Let's take the case of Twitter, for example. Last week, the Senate Judiciary, in the wake of Twitter banning the publication on its platform, Twitter, or retweeting a story by the New York Post regarding Hunter Biden. In response to that, the Senate Judiciary Committee, under the leadership of Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, said, well, we're going to hold a vote early next week, which would have been Monday this week or Tuesday this week, to vote on subpoenaing Jack Dorsey, who is the head of Twitter. Bring him up to before the Judiciary Committee and ask him some questions. Let's see if we can get somewhere on this. Well, I wrote the article that you mentioned there, and I said, at long last, it looks like the Senate Judiciary Committee is doing something worthwhile. But darned if yesterday they decided, well, we're not going to do it after all. We're going to simply kick the can down the road. So, yes, there are things that the Congress can do. To start with, let's have some real hearings, get to the bottom of why Twitter is doing this, what is the legal authority for them to do it. There's a federal law involved, which we can go into. Do some changes need to be made to that? Or could there be simply what's called a consent decree or consent agreement between Twitter and the Department of Justice to set some parameters to make this process fairer? But thus far, the Senate just has not seemed to have the backbone to even move forward to hold a hearing and ask some questions of Mr. Dorsey.
And it's very frustrating for us out here in the grassroots because we're seeing this. Anybody that is conservative that goes on Twitter now is seeing the censorship that they're using. And you say that there are consent decrees. Talk about how consent decrees can work.
If I could go back just a step, okay. One of the reasons why this is important and why there is something that the Congress can do about it is because of a provision in federal law, the notorious Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, I think it was called many years ago. And according to that law, Twitter and other social media entities are considered platforms. That is like a bulletin board or a billboard. So they're not considered a radio or a television, a communications network. Therefore, they are carved out from being responsible under the law for libel or slander, for example, because in their view, all they do is post what people put on there. Therefore, they're not responsible for it. Well, the problem is they want to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want to be responsible for what's put on their social media platform, but they want at the same time to be able to not put stuff on there, to stop people from putting stuff on. So there's a problem area there. Its basis is at least partially in federal law, so Congress has jurisdiction over it. And my suggestion in the article that you kindly referred to is, well, bring Mr. Dorsey before the Congress, ask him if he's willing to put his verbal apology, his verbal commitment to be fair with what appears on Twitter, if he's willing to do that formally with the Department of Justice. And if he is, then the two sides would come together and draft up what's called a consent decree. In other words, this is what Twitter agrees to be more fair in terms of what it puts on its platform. and the government therefore will not take action against them. To me, it would be a win all around. But here again, unless Congress actually does something like that, or I guess the Department of Justice could, nothing is going to happen. They just keep kicking the can down the road. And you're absolutely correct. It is conservative groups that are being censored, not liberals, by these social media platforms. It's not just coincidence.
Well, and many of us have actually been defamed. I know my Wikipedia profile is horrible. I can't change it. I can't sue them for it. There's nothing that can be done. And now I can't even go up and say something on Twitter or Facebook that says this is completely bogus. They're lying about me. I can't even do that because they are actually preventing that. They're preventing the other side of the story. So it really isn't a platform anymore, is it? When you are only presenting one side, and that's a slanted side.
No, it's not a platform. It's not like a bulletin board, or something like back in the 18th century when our country was being formed. They would post things on the side of the courthouse or on a billboard, so to speak. That's where the name came from. And anybody could look at it. Anybody could put something up. Anybody could look at it. That's fair. But what Twitter is doing and what these other social media platforms are doing is they are not playing fair. They are discriminating against conservative users. And what's happened to you has happened to a lot of people, and they're all conservatives. There are some even congressional candidates who have been banned from these platforms because the platforms, Mr. Dorsey with Facebook or Mr. Zuckerberg with Facebook, they don't like what these people are talking about. Therefore, they ban them. They say, "Oh, they're violent people, or they're hate mongers, or whatnot." So they ban them, and it's having an effect not only for people who are trying to practice objective journalism like yourselves, but actual candidates for federal and state offices. It's not right, and yet here again, Congress just doesn't seem to want to do anything about it. Now there is, if we want to get into it now, the Justice Department has brought an action against Google for on other matters. So there's something going on there we can talk about. But with Twitter, the Senate Judiciary Committee started to do the right thing, but then caught themselves right before they did it and stopped themselves, pulled back from simply holding a hearing and having Mr. Dorsey subpoenaed to answer questions.
We have to go to a break now. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharon Angle here with my co-host, Rick Trader. We've been talking with Congressman Bob Barr about an article that he's written actually telling Congress, get with the program. Let's get something done when it comes to these social media outlets. His article is Longstanding Precedents Point the Way for Senate Judiciary Committee to Restrain Twitter. We'll be right back after these messages.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Also, check out the website of the AUN Television Network at aun-tv.com for the other great programs that they air. Our guest this segment is Congressman Bob Barr. He represented Georgia's 7th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. And we're talking about long-standing precedents point the way for the Senate Judiciary Committee to restrain Twitter. Congressman Barr, this, in my opinion, is really important and really scary. Twitter itself has censored President Trump and his campaign 65 times, while censoring Joe Biden and his campaign 0 times. It's also scary that we're just talking to one of our guests, Rachel Alexander. She had an article. She said that 43% of people out there are getting their news from Facebook. So I wanted to ask you, when you talk about the consent decrees, what kind of teeth does that consent decree have?
If in fact Jack Dorsey would commit legally to doing what he has said he would do, and that is he apologized for banning the New York Post story on the Twitter platform. He said he was sorry and that he would make adjustments moving forward so they don't ban that sort of reporting in the future. Well, of course, talk is cheap. We know that. What I was hoping the Senate Judiciary Committee would have done this week would be to subpoena, that is, require Mr. Dorsey to come before the Senate and allow the senators to really probe with some difficult, tough, substantive questions what he has done, what authority he is doing it under, and would he be willing to put his verbal apology, his verbal commitment to be more fair, into a legally binding document called a consent decree, in which two parties, in this case, the Department of Justice and Twitter, would both commit to a document that lays out how Twitter will operate in the future, not to ban stories based on political content or partisan issues. And the Justice Department would agree not to bring a lawsuit against Twitter for violating civil liberties. And that would go to the court, and the court could, would make it a binding order. This sort of thing can also be done between private parties, between Twitter and users, for example. The New York Post, for example. Possible that they could agree, and that document, that decree, could go to the court and become a binding document. But in the absence of some pressure being put on Mr. Dorsey, there's no incentive whatsoever for him to do anything. And if he sees that the Senate Judiciary Committee, which started to move forward to subpoena him, to bring him forward to answer questions, doesn't have the backbone to proceed, he's basically going to thumb his nose at them and keep on doing what he's doing.
Congressman, in your article, you talked about a couple of examples where this consent decree has been applied and has worked. Would you care to discuss them?
Rick, the use of consent decrees in circumstances similar to this have proven to be very productive. For example, back in the, I think it was in the 1940s, you may have the article in front of you.
Yeah, 1940s.
The government was very concerned about the music industry being competition being stifled in the music industry, and there was a consent decree reached with again, you might forget the acronyms or for the companies involved.
BMI and ASCAP. BMI and ASCAP.
And they agreed that they would work out things so that music could be played. There would be proper protection for the copyright for the music, the writers and producers and so forth, yet the music could be played. And that has worked very well for, almost 80 years now, seven decades or more. And there was another one that I cited that you might refresh.
The Reagan administration's dissent decree with AT&T.
Yes, this goes back to the breaking up of the Southern Bell, the Bell South monopoly, back in the 1980s, which stifled competition. And the government had brought an antitrust lawsuit, but rather than have that move forward, which would have taken years and years and years, the Bell South agreed to break up into its component parts, AT&T, and it has worked out very well. That has given rise to significant competition, not just in hardline telecommunications technology, but cell technology that unlikely would not have happened, if at all, probably for many, many years, had not that consent decree been agreed to between the government and AT&T and the Bell subsidiaries.
Congressman, I want to change gears because there's something that's drawing all the oxygen out of the room, and it's Hunter Biden's computer. I wanted to get your feelings about this, your thoughts about the computer, about what may be on it, about how an investigation might take place, and how a prosecutor would handle this information.
Well, I think to me, the first thing that's very interesting about this matter is the fact that neither Hunter Biden nor his dad, the so-called big guy, Joe Biden, have denied the story. They could have put this thing to bed once and for all very quickly by saying that wasn't Hunter Biden's computer. Those weren't his emails. Somebody's made this up. Period. End of argument. They haven't. They haven't said anything about it other than Biden simply passing it off as a smear campaign. It's not a smear campaign. There's a lot of substance there. And the American people deserve to get to the bottom of whether or not the vice president, the sitting vice president of the United States, was in cahoots with his son and Chinese officials, communist Chinese officials, Russian officials, Ukrainian officials, friends of Hunter Biden, who were looking to get rich off of selling influence on their father. Now, maybe Joe Biden had no idea what his son was doing. Maybe he had no idea that his son was in bed, so to speak, with Russian oligarchs and communist Chinese officials. But I doubt that. And here again, we need to get to the bottom of it. There's something there, obviously, because if there wasn't, the Bidens would have said very quickly and very forcefully, this wasn't my computer. And these emails now that have come out by virtue of one of Hunter Biden's former friends who was involved in these negotiations with the communist Chinese, for example, has released thousands of emails that clearly paint a picture of nefarious dealings between Hunter Biden, his friends, communist Chinese officials, Russian oligarchs, and how close those ties were to Joe Biden. We know there are ties there. Is something that Congress and the FBI ought to be getting to the bottom of, but the FBI seems once again to be dragging its feet and not doing anything. They've been sitting on this for months and months and months.
Well, Congressman, I personally would find it very hard for Joe Biden to deny this when he's even said publicly that he threatened the Prime Minister of Ukraine that if the prosecutor wasn't fired in 6 hours, he was going home with $1 billion. And if the prosecutor don't like it, call Barack Obama. Barack Obama will tell him, hello, I mean, isn't that the smoking gun that we always talk about, that we always need to see for any prosecution or for any investigation to go forward? It's in the man's own words.
It's really amazing that that he said that, and two, that he was so stupid that he bragged about it. And it's more than a smoking gun. I mean, it's a gun that's you have a picture of it firing, and as you say, in his own words. But yet the issue is just hanging out there, and unfortunately, it hasn't stopped Joe Biden from apparently remaining ahead in a lot of the polls, and whether those are accurate, I don't know. None of us really know. But the American people, many of them, are so hateful of Donald Trump that they're willing to openly accept a presidential candidate who was the vice president of the United States that engaged in that sort of bullying holding U.S. aid hostage because a prosecutor in a foreign country would not back off from investigating Hunter Biden's activities.
I'll tell you why, Congressman. The people aren't getting the news. We just had a guest on that talked about 43% of the American public are getting their news from Facebook. 43%. And here's another scary statistic that Facebook and Twitter have given over 90% of their political contributions to Democrats in 2020. Hey, can we connect the dots and say, wow, that's why the American people, this is why this hasn't become an issue? The American people don't know about it. They don't know about it because of Facebook and Twitter banning stories about it.
It says an awful lot about an awful lot of things. It tells us a lot about the American public, that they no longer get news from primary sources. Yeah, I don't really use Facebook. My wife uses it for family matters and so forth. But yeah, I can't imagine people getting their news off of Facebook or Twitter, but they are. And the fact that Facebook and Twitter as social media platforms are blocking information from getting to the American people, including American voters, is outrageous. But ultimately, the blame is on the American people for falling for this and not paying attention to what's going on. And secondly, Congress for not doing something about it, not even holding legitimate hearings on this stuff. And I guess I'd have to say that the Department of Justice and the FBI have dropped the ball as well. I mean, where have they been in all of this?
Great question. Congressman Bob Barr, we want to thank you for joining us. We're always appreciative of the time you spend with us. Can you please tell our audience how they could follow your work, read your articles?
Thank you, Rick. Absolutely. The easiest way would be to go to bobbarr.org, www.bobbarr.org. And that would link to my work with Liberty Strategies, Liberty Guard, the Law Enforcement Education Foundation. I do regular articles for townhall.com and for the Daily Caller, to conservative electronic newspapers that I know many of your viewers are probably familiar with. But the easiest way is just go to bobbarr.org and look at all of the things that I'm doing. And people agree with what I write sometimes. Sometimes they don't agree, and that's fine. I'm just glad they're reading it, and it's getting them to think about the issues the same way you all do through your programming.
All right, Congressman Bob Barr, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Always a pleasure.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be back with more right after this break.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Well, Sharon, that's about it for today's show. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host, as always. And Sharon, it was a great show, and one of those reasons is you're my co-host. And please tell our listeners and viewers how they could follow you when you're not here on Conservative Commandos with the likes of George or Melissa or Nasser or myself.
Well, it's very simple. Just go to Conservative Commandos Radio. No, you can go there.
Yes, well, we still have that website, you know.
ccrshow.com, or you can also go to SharonEngle.com, SharonEngle.com. And I want to thank our guests also for being here on Conservative Commandos with us. Our first guest, Mark Morano, who is the former communications director at the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. He also is the special project person at Committee for Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT, and he has done a great documentary, Climate Hustle 2, The Rise of the Climate Monarchy, and we want to just recommend that show to everyone. It's a must.
I've seen it. You've seen it. It's a terrific movie. It is absolutely a terrific movie.
And our second guest, Rachel Alexander, who is a political columnist and founder and editor of Intellectual Conservative. She's also writing regularly now for WMD News. And she has an article, How Big Tech is Working to Steal the Election from Trump. She did a review of a book, really, in this article, #deleted, Big Tech's Battle to Erase the Trump Movement and Steal the Election. This is a terrific book, if you can get it. If high tech big tech hasn't decided that they're not even going to let you get through to your local bookstore and order it, or if your local bookstore has banned it, it's an amazing book because it really does tell the facts about things that, we've come to depend on, like PayPal. These guys are lefties, and they're actually part of the problem. So if you need to know who your enemy is, this book, #deleted, is the one to get. And finally, we had one of our longtime friends, Congressman Bob Barr, on. He wrote an article, Long-Standing Precedents Point the Way for the Senate Judiciary Committee to Restrain Twitter. We were hoping for a hearing in the judiciary this week on these big tech companies, and sadly have been disappointed. He tells them how to get the job done, but of course he points out that unless they have the courage to do the job, they'll never get the job done.
All right. Great show. Great show. And hey, for our viewers and listeners out there, please do a couple of things with us. Be sure to share our show with your friends and neighbors. And look, if Twitter, if Facebook is stopping conservatives from getting the message out there, that's not stopping you. Please share it with your friends and neighbors. Another thing, hey, we could use a little bit of help here. You know, it costs money to run this show. We don't profit by it. In fact, we have to pay a lot of the expenses. Please go to our website, kick in $5, kick in $10. If it's important for you, for conservatives to have a voice, become one of us, become one of our team, get some skin in the game. Give us a little help there with a donation. Go to our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.